Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the latest AWP sort of podcast. We are AWP Voices. Our podcast tries to shed light on different sort of aspects of the organisation and to give people inside the organisation and outside the organisation a better understanding of what Avon and Wiltshire Mental Health Partnership does on a day-to-day sort of basis. So today's edition is going to talk about our charity, which is called sort of Headlight. All NHS providers have have charities. This helps to be able to bring resources over and above what is our core funding to be able to help staff and our clients, which we support on a daily basis, to make the environment better, to just give that added sort of impetus in respect to what we provide. Our Headlight charity, is principally based around sort of donations which we receive from clients, family, but also from staff doing sort of charitable events, and we'll talk a bit about those today. And there was a variety of projects which the charity sort of supports. One thing which, being here at Callington Road sort of hospital, I did just before sort of Christmas was handing out vouchers for staff and for clients who would be here over the Christmas sort of period, and it's something which we do on an annual sort of basis, and is really well received and just provides some added cheer for what is quite a difficult time for the clients who are in inpatient wards, but also our staff who are having to work on sort of Christmas Day, so it just brings that a bit of additionality. But it's really important that we, continue the generosity and that support from our, from our staff and sort of our clients and our sort of local population, which we sort of serve. And we thought it was really important to just try and get a bit of a better understanding and provide that understanding of what Headlight is all about. So to be able to do that, I've got sort of two sort of colleagues. Procolo Testa, who is the Physiotherapy and Exercise Team Leader for Bristol. So hi
Simon.
Hi.
Thank you.
And then sort of Sam Partleton, sorry, I'm not very good with words, who is the care coordinator in the Central and East Assessment and Recovery sort of team. Both of you have done sort of, both involved with the sort of charity in different sort of aspects, and again we'll talk about sort of some of those aspects and why it's so important for the charity, but also just really sort of have that sort of general sort of conversation about what more could we do, and being able to get more, particularly our staff, to get the staff more interested in sort of getting involved with sort of charitable sort of activities, to be able to just try and enhance and promote the environments which we are sort of working within. So that's where we're sort of at everything. So should I start with yourself, Sam? Because obviously you've been doing some sort of charitable sort of work and everything. So do you want to just talk about that and how you got involved with that in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a care coordinator, as you said, for the Bristol Central Recovery Team. I've been for about 7 odd years. I guess in that space of time, I've kind of just realised there's a bit of a gap in the kind of services that is kind of aimed at people who are kind of really involved in the music industry. Bristol, massive heritage.
Yeah.
They're talking about kind of, Massive Attack and One Size, Represent, all those kind of big kind of drum and bass kind of characters. I came to Bristol because I loved music, and it's big reason why I came here. But I think for a lot of our service users who are involved in kind of dance music in some way, with just from going to clubs or from the fact they're DJs or producers, there seems to be a bit of a gap for them to kind of really how we could reach those people, because obviously not a lot of them can talk in a room which feels quite kind of formalised. I think people are looking for somewhere a bit more kind of more catered to what they're into and what they're into. So I've definitely found a lot of people have come to me asking, what do you do, anything kind of music-wise, and there hasn't been that kind of availability. So yeah, I've just been getting together. It's taken me a long time, but getting together with a few friends, a few colleagues who are really into music, and finally we're trying to raise a bit of cash basically to, one, get equipment. We need to get turntables, we need to get studio hire, we hopefully get a few DJs involved who might inspire patients as well. Yeah. And hopefully provide some workshops where people can not only just, if they haven't DJ, they can learn to DJ, or they might just want to have a space just to connect with other people and talk about music and not feel so isolated.
And actually that just sort of completely, and obviously as an I'm the finance director for the trust, so that sort of detailed clinical understanding, clearly I'm an accountant, so but the more that you understand about and relate to individuals probably helps with their sort of recovery, presumably. So demedicalising it, we know that. And one of the things that Headlight has really supported over the last few years is the whole sort of green prescribing agenda, and trying to help with creating sort of green spaces, which then allows people to be able to support with their recovery, because we know that getting outside, walking, exercising, and doing sort of more creative activities really helps with, even myself, I go to the gym, a few mornings a week and everything. On those days, I know that I will feel a lot better than actually the day when I jump in my car, drive to Bath, get stuck in traffic for an hour and everything, and then, then I'm right at it. So those things, but it doesn't need drugs to be able to support that, does it? It's about that mental well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from what you're saying, there's a better girl, Becky Pugh, she's been working with us, she's done a lot of those initiatives within the Bristol Central Recovery Team, and she's helping us out with this, so we've got her experience on board to kind of help us, look at how we can increase interest and finances really. So
yeah, excellent, brilliant. And sort of what sort of so the sort of the fundraising which you're sort of doing, so for example, how much would a set of decks be?
It depends. I mean, if you want to go brand new, you could be looking kind of multiple thousands, but hopefully we're going to kind of go second hand. For the the kind of the nerdy DJs out there that might appreciate Technics 1210s are the kind of the gold standard of instrument that we potentially want to get hold of. So you're looking, probably those are £1,000 each potentially. But also we want to be more tailored towards the kind of younger generation who are more interested in digital turntables, kind of pioneer turntables, and they can go for sort of £1,500. But yeah, I mean we're trying to raise around about sort of £3,000 roughly, and we're probably about a third of the way there, roughly.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's going well so far.
And presumably, I imagine you said about trying to attract sort of DJs, to and give them the big music scene within sort of Bristol. I really enjoy. I'm a great live music sort of fan as well. So it's fantastic, but I imagine there are some of those DJs who have had their own mental health challenges as well.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
So there's something there around sort of one of the challenges that we've had with sort of Headlight is trying to sort of link into people who've got lived experience, and and maybe on a continuous sort of path of recovery, but trying to to get them to help with it. Now the problem is it's the stigma around it, isn't it? Because some people probably don't feel quite uncomfortable about talking about their own sort of mental health and the challenges which they've had. But in today's society, it has become so much more open, isn't it? People are much more open to be able to talk about some of the challenges which they may have experienced, and actually that really, and then sort of trying to give something back into to the NHS or to services which have absolutely sort of helped them, and actually some of that is helping through the charitable sort of activities that we want to try and do.
Yeah, we've linked in also with another trust. I don't know if we had
no, it's fine.
Another trust, but in Sussex, where people might have heard of Fatboy Slim, who's a big DJ in the area down there, and he's linked in with an OT down there, and he's contributed all of lots of his old equipment.
Brilliant.
As well as kind of, I think
I'm seeing him at Westonbirt in the summer.
Oh yeah, he is. And yeah, I think he even did a gig especially for the trust and raised about 20 grand,
wow.
which he gave directly to the Sussex Foundation. And hopefully we can sort of
that would be
pick up more from them and maybe kind of link in with him a bit and some of the DJs the bigger DJs that are in this particular area. And he's talked very openly about his mental health issues in the past and how music has been absolutely foundational to his recovery.
Brilliant.
So hopefully we can draw from that.
Fantastic. So Procolo, obviously you are, you've been heavily involved with a project here at sort of Carrington Road, which is being able to secure money to re-provide our multi-use games area. The Carrington Road at the moment is having a sort of an expansion and being able to rationalise further some of our sort of inpatient facilities which we've got elsewhere and bringing them onto the Carrington Road site, which will be hopefully really sort of beneficial. But one of the downsides of that is that you lost your activities, one of your activity areas, wasn't it? So we've been able to secure some additional funding from Sports England, and obviously, but we're still needing to do, to raise a significant amount of money, which I think is in the region of about 120,000 in total. But again, what is it that you're trying to provide, and what are some of the things that you've been trying to do through sort of Headlight?
Yes, Simon, thank you. That's all correct. Obviously, in the move from Woodside to Larch, which is the new therapy base at Carrington Road, as you said very correctly, we have lost a lot of facilities. I have to say, not just my team, probably my team has lost the most. Some of those includes an outdoor sports area, so the MAGA, the multi-use game area, as well as an indoor sports hall. And with this project and this work that we are doing with the Headlight, we are hoping to recreate those facilities, to rebuild this structure that we used to have at Woodside. So obviously, as you have mentioned before, I think you have touched on some of those topics when you were talking about the importance of being outdoor, being exposed to light, doing exercise. So this is what we are trying to achieve. This is what we strongly believe, by being able to provide a variety of activities, not just indoor, but also outdoor. And obviously, to be able to do that, we need to have a dedicated, specialized space, which a MAGA multi-use game area would offer. So this is the aim. This is where we would like to be. That's what we aim to achieve. And hopefully, thanks to Headlight and thanks to all the support that we are receiving locally at Carrington Road Hospital, we feel confident that we will get there.
And one of the things, because if people are watching this, they're probably thinking, oh, hang on, why doesn't our core funding be able to in essence just pay for that, or pay for the DJ sort of equipment? And particularly me being the finance director, people will be going, well, why don't you just pay for it? The challenge is that the funding which we receive, which is around about £400 million for the whole of the trust. We're a big mental health sort of provider, but that very much is for all of our staff. We employ 5,500 members of staff across the whole of the geographical area. The buildings which we sort of operate with is for our core sort of services. And these extra bits, if you want to call them that, whether it's the games area, just sometimes we can fund them out of our core funding, but most of the time it's that additionality which we really struggle with, because resources are really tight. We all know around the financial pressures that the NHS and all of public services are under. And therefore, where we have the opportunity to be able to raise money, and sometimes it's not huge amounts in the scheme of things, but it has such a big impact. It really does. Just as you've said, Sam, getting £1,500 to £3,000 and getting those DJ decks. The impact that would have in respect to how you can provide that service and that recovery for our sort of clients is just priceless. And therefore that's really where the sort of charity stands. For the things which we can't fund from our day-to-day sort of funding, it just gives us that opportunity to be able to go that sort of bit further. And we've done some fantastic things over the years. And as I said, we've been able to support some of the green prescribing and helping with the development of some of the allotments across the organisation, which we use. We used to support a project around AWP in Bloom, where for the inpatient units we'd have a competition around who could create the best sort of garden. And again, the feedback from the clients and from staff as well, who really got engaged with that, was so much about I suppose just being able to create a much more creative environment, really. So presumably, as clinicians, you see that on the power of that is so important, and having those opportunities.
Yeah. I guess I am aware as well. I think from the kind of green prescribing side of things, I think you actually matched some of the donations as well in the past.
Yeah.
I want to do the same for us at some point.
But, why not?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, I mean the evidence. I mean, I can't give you specific papers, but I think there's so much evidence out there, isn't there, for music and the impact that has on people who are experiencing severe mental health issues. I think the kind of it's almost speaks for itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's about changing that sort of dynamic. We spend so much money in the NHS on dealing with the crisis, the acute side of things, and then you think about how much do we spend on the prevention stroke early intervention side of things. One of our sort of colleagues, I think it's Richard Gurney, I think, who's in the Baines early intervention team. He uses charitable funds to be able to then support taking people on a surfing trip. And and it's those sorts of things. So we can do some of this stuff within our sort of core funding, but the charitable funds just gives us that opportunity to be able to do so much more as well. Because it's not huge amounts of money. We're not looking to have charitable funds to be able to build a new hospital. It's those small amounts which if we can get our get those donations up. Would really sort of benefit a large number of people as well. Walking groups and one of the areas which again I think I was involved with was providing sort of a football strip for through some of the recovery through sport, and that then sort of created a bit of a sort of a knock-on effect. And I'm pretty sure now that we've got some sort of southwest sort of league now for clients who are in recovery, and they're playing clients from other hospitals where they've got, and so the opportunity and the benefit that sort of creates is fantastic.
Absolutely amazing, Simon. And I must admit, it's been a very exciting journey being part of the MAGA fundraise and working with Headlight. And I'd like to mention how much he brought together the wider MDT of the hospital, and how much got everyone involved working together, trying to achieve that goal together. And just to mention some of the things we have done a Christmas sale, which all the ward managers participated and all the therapist team helped us with. We have done, my team personally, we done a ski erg challenge in Tesco, which some of you have heard. We trained to complete 100k on a ski erg machine within 12 hours, but we did it in less than that.
Wow.
And the support we have received from everyone coming to Tesco, talking to the public, members from Headlight were there to help us to collect money. Some of the ward consultants came over to do the skier and help out. Some of the patients came to also help and advocate for our cause.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a very exciting journey.
And it's quite hard as a trust because we operate out of about 95 different locations across the whole geography of AWP. We're not like if you talk to most of the population and you say, oh yeah, the Bristol Ward Infirmary, that's such a iconic and well-known sort of location. You talk about Avon and Wiltshire Mental Health Partnership, and actually people will probably be scratching their head thinking, well, hang on, what is it? Where does it operate out of? Because we operate out of so many different areas. It's not just inpatient services, it's also community services as well, in primary care. So it's quite hard to actually create that unique selling point. So, as clinicians, is there anything that we as an organisation, as a board, obviously I represent the executive directors and the board of the organisation. Is there anything that we should be doing to be able to, I suppose, just try and promote AWP and the Headlight sort of charity better than what we do?
I can only speak for what I've encountered so far. So when some of the events that we've done club nights, basically. Keeping with the music theme, we've done events at a local institution called Cozy's, which is a club underground.
Yeah. My son goes there.
Brilliant. We might come down to the last one.
That's right, yeah.
And we've had kind of punters coming in from all around Bristol and outside, and we've had conversations through the organisation. I think it's called Head First, which does the tickets.
Right.
We've been able to put lots of information about Headlight and what we're doing, and that's opened up conversations with people who've come in, paid a fee to get in, and they've been really curious to know, why are we doing what we're doing, how is their money going to go and help, what's it actually going towards, and it's just opened doors for really, really good conversations. But I guess social media and the kind of internet is kind of the way forward, isn't it? I guess. How can we kind of just increase our presence online, I think, is a massive thing. You've got things like Instagram and accounts that we need to set up for ourselves, I think. And
and obviously what we're doing here in respect to the sort of the podcast, it's our opportunity to be able to reach out to the community is so important, isn't it? Because again, it's mental health and mental illness is so has been in the past so invisible, hasn't it? And been a taboo subject. I think people are much more open to be able to talk about, their, how they feel, and just their sort of, day-to-day sort of challenges that some people have to experience. And probably for most people in our population, to a greater or lesser degree, they probably, at some point have had to deal with, a mental health issue or somebody within their sort of family. So it does, we do touch everybody in some way, I would imagine. And so, any opportunity for us to be able to, to get people to be able to, to fundraise for us, if you are doing that, running a marathon, then we need to think about how do we get people get people to think, oh, actually I'm going to do it for Headlight. I think we've had some members of staff who've done skydives. I think we had one chap, did he walk to the North Pole or something like that? I can't remember exactly. So but it's about creating that in enthusiasm, because we do, lots of people do raise money for different charities. Obviously, the big charities like Cancer UK and Age Concern, those sorts of charities, they've always got a very big unique selling point, haven't you? But Headlight, for the population of North Somerset, Bristol, South Gloucestershire, Wiltshire, Swindon, and Bath and North East Somerset, we are the mental health provider, for people who are really poorly in our sort of, in our communities, and anything that we can do to be able to just make the way that we provide our services and the options and the opportunities over and above what is core NHS services, then it has such an impact. It really does.
We do cover it's a really vast
It's
area,
huge,
and it really is about trying to create that culture where we use Headlight, our charity, to fundraise, and maybe we should try to create a culture where we have an event every month where we fundraise and we engage with the public and try to advertise what we are, what we do, what we're raising money for. But obviously it's not always easy, as a busy clinician running a busy service, you don't always have the time and the luxury to try and do those extra side bits, which they are important by all means.
Absolutely. It is an add-on, isn't it? And we obviously I do 5 days a week, and they often working into the evenings and things, that's all part of the course of the jobs. You're whether it's a shift pattern or whatever, extremely busy, and then you've got family or other activities. There isn't a huge amount of time for that, and that's a big challenge, isn't it, for the whole of the voluntary and the charitable sort of sector, particularly where the economy is at the moment and the cost of living. Actually, it's not an easy thing, is it, to then think, well, okay, then I'm going to do this. I've always thought, given that geographical, I'm a real passionate cyclist. I've always thought, could I, and I wouldn't be able to, but it's the time, would I be able to ride on quiet roads, obviously, the whole of the circumference of the AWP area and everything? That would be, and I will do it at some point. Obviously I'm getting quite old now, but I'm still reasonably fit. So maybe that's something that I need to.
That is an interesting challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much time would you give yourself?
Well, I think I'd have to try and do it in a day and everything.
In a day?
But I imagine it would be.
I'll join you with my team.
Okay, that's
if you do it, I'll join you with my team.
Absolutely.
Because we are all. I'm not a professional cyclist, but we all cycle.
Yeah. Well, cycling's a big part of Bristol and the whole green agenda. Obviously, Bristol has got a long, strong tradition around trying to reduce the impact that it has on sort of the environment, and that in itself, I know I chair the Climate Emergency Action Group for the Trust, and the impact of the environment on our clients is huge. Climate events, obviously we just had one yesterday in respect to the storm Greta, hitting the southwest and everything. There will be some of our clients who will have become really anxious, because about what is the potential impact for them. The heat wave of last summer would have had an impact on some of our clients and the impact that's had. So the climate emergency is has a big impact, and the service users who link into the group are always keen for us as an organisation to be doing sort of more. And really thinking about what's the opportunity for Headlight to be able to help with helping staff to become much more sort of green friendly. So we have done some of the bike sheds through Headlight, has then funded them through the charitable sort of donations to be able to have more cycling facilities. And to be able to improve some of our shower facilities, which in this in the middle of winter and everything, it's not great getting wet, cycling into work and everything. So again, that's another good example of where Headlight is helping our staff.
Yeah, I've got an e-bike from the NHS. I don't know if that's got anything to do with that. But,
it won't. But I imagine, again, obviously, we, do that cycle to work sort of scheme. Obviously, that's a salary sacrifice sort of approach. But again, it's all part of that. So hopefully, you know, again, depending on where you work, some of the facilities that you may be using may have, you know, the improvements associated with that, or the bike sheds may have come through from, you know, the use of charitable resources. So again, you know, where we cannot fund it, always fund it through from core services and core funding, then the charity does provide us with those opportunities, as does getting grants as well. You know, we're constantly looking out to try and get charitable resources through grants. You know, there's a lot of grant givers, and again, you know, the money which we've secured from Sport England, that was done through a grant application. And that's one of the challenges that the organisation sort of has, is about the amount of resource that we've got to be able to support Headlight. You know, in the past we have had a fundraiser, you know, who was really active with trying to do that. But if that's not then that successful, then that feels quite tricky to be able to be paying for somebody to be able to raise pretty much, you know, enough money to be able to cover their salary. And then we don't then raise enough, you know, more money over and above that to be able to help for all the things we've just been sort of talking about. So that's been quite a tricky balance for the trust and the board about, well, do we put more investment into, you know, the fundraising and help with, you know, really generating that enthusiasm. So at the moment we are very reliant on staff like yourselves, in your own time, really, you know, trying to promote it and push
Saturday
that.
nights.
Well, yeah. So, and you know, and that's, you know, and that in itself is tricky, as we've just talked about, because you know, we're all busy people. You know, we've got lives outside work as well. So, but you know, where we can do that, you know, those times when we do have that opportunity to be able to possibly do charitable fundraising, then give some thought, try and think, actually, I'm going to try and raise some money for Headlights, you know, like you're doing there and everything. And actually creating that groundswell, I think, of, you know, the more people do it, the bigger it comes. And I think it's thinking about how do we create that groundswell? Because where you do it, it sounds like it's been really successful, and also creates quite a good feeling about it as well.
Yeah, I think even for the people that haven't been able to make it to events as well, we've got Just Giving page. That's always a great opportunity to kind of chip a little bit on the side. You know, they might be able to get away from that.
Yeah, so and that's one of the things which we've done now. Obviously, dragging the NHS into the 21st century, but anybody can set up a Just Giving page, which then links itself into the Headlight sort of, you know, charity, because it's a great way of being able to, you know, you don't have to deal with the cash. You know, you can just promote from that perspective. And that's an easy way for the finance team who supports and administers the charity on behalf of the trust. And a huge thank you to them. You know, they're doing their sort of like day-to-day jobs, and principally then doing the supporting the Headlight charity on the side as well. So a huge thanks to Jane and Amy. Really, without them and their efforts, then we would struggle to be able to keep on top of things. But yeah, any way that we can sort of to get Headlight on those in those events is fantastic, really. So obviously the Headlight charity, we are really wanting to support lots more within the organisation. That groundswell which we sort of talked about, and trying to get more people sort of involved. But one of the things which we often struggle with, and I think sometimes we can do it at a small sort of local level, something small, but what are some of those bigger ideas which I suppose to a certain extent can could be the next big thing which we would potentially want to fundraise for. And and again, as you say, Sam, it doesn't need to be thousands or millions of pounds and everything. Sometimes that's small things. So are there areas which you hear in conversation, or it'd be nice to to have some of that. Are there some of those ideas which get, floated in team meetings and things like that?
Well, I mean, absolutely, Simon. Thinking about my team, obviously, and the ideas and the projects, and the hope that we have for the future. Our hope is that once we will have the outdoor space enlarged, ready with a MAGA, the multi-use game area there, which we think is really important considering the amount of feedbacks we have received from service users of how much they miss that ability of being able to exercise outdoor, to be able to do sports outside. Our next project then we will be focusing our energy toward trying to regain the indoor sports hall, because as we know, in England we don't always have sunny weather, so you cannot really always exercise outside. As much as I love the idea of being able to exercise outside, you need to be able to have facilities, indoor facilities, so that you can offer a variety of outdoor as well as indoor exercise activities. So that would be, once we complete this project, then we would be hoping to work again with the Headlight and try to complete this second step.
Excellent, brilliant. And from your perspective, Sam?
Well, I mean, we've got another event coming up in April. Hopefully, we're just in the pipeline of organising. Hopefully, just another party. Which by that stage, I'm hoping we will have got almost over halfway by that point. I guess in terms of colleagues, I think it's about inspiring them to actually see that if we can do it, and if we can do it together with Headlight and with their support, that it might open their minds to what they can achieve and what what goals that they might have beyond just kind of being sat behind a desk sometimes and talking to patients. What other avenues are there? What are their, why they came into the job in the first place. Make some of those dreams a reality, I guess. But we're still kind of getting there at the moment with what we're trying to do. But once that's done, we've inspired a few people. Maybe that can create a bit of space for other people to think a bit more imaginatively about how they can raise money for whatever it is that they're interested in.
And we, again, this is, this podcast is going, outside the boundaries of AWP. So it's not just, just about sort of, staff. So it may be that, there are, parts of the population who, we know that things like walking, gardening, outside activities are, are so good from a mindfulness perspective. Community groups, all of those sorts of things. So, being able to actually help and promote, and, it may be that what Headlight can do is to be able to support, some of those, external sort of, or other really small charities to be able to really help and then offer opportunities for, some of our sort of, clients. I know that I think it was in South Gloucestershire where there was a sort of a gardeners sort of club on a particular sort of allotments, and we were able to support buying some additional sort of tools, some sheds, to be able to then help them be able to then increase their promotion and opportunities of supporting some of our clients in respect to, for some people getting involved with gardening for the first time, and the reward which that was then sort of creating and the benefit associated with that is huge. And we know, and obviously, what we do know is that actually the opportunity of being able to reduce, the amount of medication that certain clients have, because they are now being, some of their recovery, or a lot of their recovery is now being done through a much more holistic sort of approach. That is good for everybody, isn't it? It's good, as a finance director, it's good for me because I'm spending less on drugs. But also, the most important thing, it's really important for some, for many of our sort of clients, because it's a natural way of being able to, and so much that Headlight can and help sort of promote that. So I think it's, it is really important that we get staff to be able to really think outside the box. Those things which you may think, it'd be really nice if we had that. And those opportunities, or to be able to take away a group of clients for a few days to be able to to experience something like Richard does with the surfing sort of trip. All of those things which we struggle to fund through our core funding, the charity can really help to be able to do some of those things and support them, and it's not huge amounts of money. So anything that we can get beneficiaries or donations through to us can have a significant impact, probably much more of an impact than actually many of our core services, to be honest. So yeah, the importance of Headlight, it can't be underestimated. So yeah.
No, absolutely, Simon. And I feel like that you have touched on some really important points, talking about when you talk about having an holistic approach on how do we treat mental health, because obviously it is not just drug medical treatment. There is just so much more to it. And also when you're talking about community, engagement with the community, having that view forward of what happens once someone is discharged from the hospital. Those are people that they need to re-engage with the community. And I think it is important to start and start that journey early while they are an inpatient. So someone starting gardening, someone starting playing football or doing exercise outdoor, playing basketball or doing art. If we can start all of those things while they are an inpatient under our care, and then being able to support them as they get closer to discharge, to reconnect and recreate those things outside in the community, they have way better, far more chances to stay well, to remain well.
It gives people purpose, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
it gives them purpose, it reconnects them with the locality, gives them that social aspect. So yeah, all of those things are really important, and if Headlights can help us to recreate some of those facilities within the inpatient settings, that would be great. Thank you.
So as you've heard today, the Headlight sort of charity, we really need your support and your extra support to be able to do all the things which we've been sort of talking about in this sort of podcast. Hopefully you've been able to hear that those additional funds that we can get helps our patients, our carers, our staff, to be able to enhance the care which we sort of provide over and above the core funding which we receive as part of being an NHS organisation. It allows us to be able to enhance the therapeutic sort of care which we sort of provide. And being very real, it allows us to be able to enhance the holistic care that we sort of can provide, and the great range of opportunities which I think we've talked about in quite a bit of detail today. There are lots of ways that you can get involved with being able to donate. Obviously, you could use Headlight as the primary sort of opportunity for a fundraising event that you might be wanting to do. Whether that's you as an individual running the marathon, or as we've heard, organising a cake sale, organising an event, in respect to a night session. Or donating for somebody who's had care within and supported through AWP, but also becoming a volunteer. We are always looking for additional sort of help to be able to help with the charitable work that we are sort of doing. We rely very heavily on people who are got busy day jobs, whether they're within the finance department or very, very busy sort of clinicians. So again, if your support could be done through volunteering into the charity, then that would be fantastic as well. So if you would like to get involved, then please visit www.awp.nhs.uk and search for Headlight. And that will bring you a whole wealth of information around some of the activities and some of the areas which we are sort of really focused on for our sort of charity. Or alternatively, you can go to our sort of Just Giving sort of page, which is www.justgiving.com/charity/Headlight Mental Health. That will allow you to be able to sort of donate, and again there's a link within the within our sort of website. And if you do want to get involved with some of the work that we are sort of doing, or to come up with ideas of things which we could really sort of benefit from, so that's staff or people from the wider sort of population which we sort of serve, then drop us an email on awp.headlight@nhs.net, and one of the team will be able to get back to you. So hopefully you've been able to hear about the importance sort of Headlight, and really a big thanks to everybody who has been involved with Headlight now in the past and now, but also more importantly for all of those of you who do want to get involved. Please do think about Headlight as that sort of primary objective of what you're wanting to do, because the benefit that you can do for patients and staff and our carers is significant. So thank you.